Today we are talking all things creatine. Specifically, we'll dive into what it is, what the benefits are, and then not only my experience taking it for a number of months, but also my husband's. So we'll get a little battle of the sexes in there. If this is your first time here, my name's Justina. I'm a personal trainer based out of New York City who loves educating you on the basics of how your bodies work so you have more bodily autonomy. If that sounds good to you, I would love for you to hit that subscribe button, stick around, and we're gonna dive right into what creatine is. Creatine is made up of 3 amino acids, which are the building blocks of protein. Now, we naturally produce creatine in the body, but it's also found in foods like red meat. Now, most of creatine is stored in our muscles, which is part of what makes it such a great supplement for people with power and strength goals. Now, before we move any further, we are going to quickly break down energy systems, but keep it so simple that it doesn't feel like you're back in like 10th grade science class, okay? Stick with me here. When our body moves, we use something called ATP. Think of this like energy for our cells. Our muscles store a finite amount of ATP at any given time, but if we use all of it up, then we're going to need to create more by utilizing oxygen. So this is basically broken down into 2 energy systems. We've got aerobic systems, which is where we have new ATP, it uses oxygen, and anaerobic systems, which is stored ATP. We do not need to use oxygen here. Now, specifically, the anaerobic energy system we're talking about here in relation to creatine is the phosphocreatine energy system. We see how it connects now. Thank you for bearing with me. So without like drawing you a whole ass diagram, basically all you need to know is that the more creatine you have stored in your muscle mass, the more ability you have to store ATP in those muscle cells. Great. We're on the same page. So let's move into the benefits. Well, the main benefit here is increased strength and power output, which are both anaerobic activities. So essentially it's going to help with these quick bursts of energy. Now, longer duration movements like endurance running won't really experience benefits directly related to creatine here, but there are some studies that show cognitive benefits, potentially even in people with Parkinson's, ALS, and Huntington's. But the general consensus with the cognitive benefits is that there are more studies that need to be done to draw those wide sweeping conclusions, but it will not hinder you. So if you want to try it out for cognitive benefits, you're more than welcome to. All right, so now we're going to go into my experience. So back in August, I made my first low creatine drink, and I'm specifically using Legion's post-workout blend, which also has a host of other ingredients, but the most important thing to look at is the actual dosage of creatine. So if you're using a product with proprietary blends, that essentially means that they do not need to disclose how much of each ingredient is in the blend. People say it's like to protect their mix of ingredients, but quite honestly, a lot of companies just use it to underdose what they're saying is in there. So you might be taking a blend of something that says it has creatine, but because it's in a proprietary blend, you could be getting like 0.001 grams of it, when really the recommended dosage is anywhere from 3 to 10 grams. I take 5 grams a day, and that's plenty. Now back to Legion really quickly. I just want to make it known that this is not sponsored by them. This was actually just a gifted product that they gave me like a year ago, and I never used it, and then I thought it would be a great thing to use for this video because I already had it in the pantry. Kevin picked up another creatine that was just like straight up creatine. So mine tastes like something, his does not, but we are getting the same 5 milligram dosage a day. In terms of when to take your creatine, you're either going to want to take it post-workout, or if you're not working out that day, with your biggest meal of the day. Really though, it does not matter when you take it. It's more about the consistency that matters. So you do want to try your best to take it every single day. If you miss like one day here and there, it's not a big deal, but you do want to try and be as consistent as possible so that you do actually receive the benefits. So now let's just kind of go through like my experience week by week. There is going to be I think they call it like a loading phase. Basically, like you're going to have to give your body a week or 2 to like actually absorb the creatine and store it before you're actually going to feel many benefits. And that's about exactly what I felt. In the first week, I didn't have any notable performance differences. I was just kind of feeling like a little puffy, but that also could have been due to the increased carbs from diet changes and coming off of like some vacation habits. So this is why I also think it's important to like remember that we're not in a controlled setting. I'm supplementing creatine alongside like 1,000 other choices I'm making during the day. So I don't like to draw sweeping conclusions and instead just kind of like note how I'm feeling, but also noting other things that are going on. Moving into week 2, I again still didn't really have any notable performance differences yet. And I was still feeling a little puffy, but less so. But again, that also could just be diet related. I was also in my taper this week for my run training. So just like overall, my energy out was a lot lower. So all of these things could have been leading to like a feeling of puffiness, and we don't really know if it is the creatine or not. not. Just a hard stop really quickly. I realize that I'm talking about puffiness without having any context here. When you do start taking creatine, it's going to draw more water into your muscles, which is what you want. So you actually might like see the scale go up a little bit when you're supplementing with creatine, but we need to remember that like this means that it's working properly. So the number on the scale is not giving you the big picture. It's not that you gained like 2 or 3 pounds of fat mass. It's just that your body's holding on to a little bit more water so that you can actually get those creatine benefits. So if you're somebody that maybe isn't in a place mentally to handle that, I would say maybe creatine is not the best option for you right now. But again, it doesn't mean that you're gaining fat. It literally just means that creatine is doing its job. So let's move into week 3. So this is actually when I started to really click with some performance benefits. I hit these 165-pound kickstand deadlifts on tired legs, but felt incredible. And I actually didn't really put it together until later, like why these felt so good. For reference, the week prior, these felt insanely challenging, and I was on a taper in terms of my run training. This week, I had far more running volume. I was really fatigued on the legs, but these moved like butter. So that was really exciting to see. In week 4, this is kind of where the ball really got rolling again. I had this 80-pound bench that felt like cake. But again, we need to zoom out and look at the big picture. This was my deload week right before my 10 milers. So I had a lot of extra energy to expend because I wasn't using it on my runs. So that 80-pound bench might have felt like cake because I was really recovered. In general, I felt less bloated, but maybe that was in my head. And I was also shocked that I hadn't missed a day, which I did miss like 2 days in here. So get ready for that. Week 5, I did this same 165-pound kickstand deadlift, and it felt pretty good after being fatigued from my race. I'm not going to sit here and say that it was easy, but it felt way better than I thought it should have. And then I also hit an 85-pound bench for 6 reps, which was a PR at that weight. In general, I'm definitely feeling puffy this week, really puffy, but my nutrition was also really off, and I did miss a day this week, but it's kind of like whatever. Again, my general consensus here is like, as long as you're taking it like 95% of the time, yes, that's a really high percentage, but you don't want to really like lose that saturation. So the fact that I only missed it 2 days out of 2 months is actually still really darn good. Okay, moving into week 6, I am feeling really strong this week. I hit a back squat PR of 145 pounds. I know that's not crazy heavy, but I actually just started training these recently, so please don't tell me that that's baby weight. That's just mean. I also did get a little more lax over the past few months. Some of that was like prioritizing carbs. Some of that was just like end of summer fun stuff. So I did put on a few pounds, but I'm going into a mini cut starting this week, and I'm feeling really good even a few days in, especially with my strength still. Then week 7, still feeling good. I hit this really empowering 16 kilo clean to press for 4 reps, which was a PR, and that was incredibly exciting. But it does just kind of feel like creatine is doing exactly what I expected, just like giving me a little extra push at the end of like really tough, heavy sets. And then finally right here, we're in week 8. So this is our 2-month mark. So 2 months, 60 days, 8 weeks, however you want to frame it. I think that the biggest takeaway that I have found is those little extra bursts in my strength work. So I've been training really consistently over the past few years. Like I said, some of these lifts are newer to me, specifically the back squats, but I have really found that things like my chest press, my deadlifts, where I've kind of been stuck for a little bit simply because that's what happens. Like once you get to a certain point, your strength is not going to be exponential anymore. Otherwise, we would all be lifting like thousands of pounds. But I have found that the creatine, I think, has been the thing to really just help me like push through a little bit, hit a few PRs, get a little bit more load on the bar. And that's been really cool and exciting. Cognitively, I have felt zero benefits. I have not been weighing myself recently, so I don't really know how it has affected me like on the scale. But again, it's just going to be water weight and or muscle mass potentially from the added gains in like my strength work. But I think for me, my expectations were really, really low. And the fact that I have just like progressed a little bit here and there with some of my big lifts has been really exciting. But as promised, I'm going to give you my husband's takeaways because I think it's interesting to see like the differences, especially since there's so little literature on the differences for men and women in the supplement realm. So you get a little anecdotal evidence here of how Kevin and I's experience have differed on creatine. This cat will not leave you alone.
I'd heard about creatine for a long time. And if you've seen me in any other video, then you know that my biggest problem was always consistency. I've never worked out consistent enough, but it's been a solid 2 years now since I've been consistently working out, usually about 3 days a week, maybe 4. And I really wanted to take it to the next level, but I hit a lot of walls was my problem. Like I got really stuck at a lot of things, and I tend to get pretty sore. I'm getting old, we're about to hit 40. And so the reason I took creatine, because I did a lot of research on it, and essentially I was really excited to get past those walls. I was excited for the recovery aspect of it. I was excited for the mental aspect of it. They say that it can help your mental. Exactly. It didn't work, is what I'm saying. And I was just really excited to like kind of take it to the next level. Number one, there's no side effects at all. I've felt no side effects. The only thing I think of is like sometimes when I take it too fast, when I drink it too fast, it hurts my stomach a little bit. So I got to slow down. The mental aspect of it, I don't really feel it. The recovery aspect of it, I was really excited for, because I did try to raise my workouts to 5 days a week. No, I don't think that worked at all. More sore than ever. I'm getting older, so I don't really know. The one thing that it really helped with was I got past a lot of my workout walls. I could only do 8 chin-ups. Now I could do 12. I was stuck on my push-ups. I can only do 50 push-ups. Now I can do 70. My bench press, I got stuck at a weight. Now I flew past that weight. There's a good and bad thing about that, because the good thing is like I'm feeling stronger, I'm feeling better. Like I like it a lot. The problem is like some things aren't getting as strong. Like my forearm started to hurt a little bit because my biceps I could do more weight on my chest and my biceps and my triceps, but like my forearms and my grip strength wasn't there yet. So I needed to slow down and kind of build that up. And overall, I think if you've been working out consistently for a long time and you've hit some walls, creatine's kind of the perfect way to just kind of get a little bit past that. But it's not a miracle. It's not a steroid. I'm going to take steroids next. That's the next. No, I'm just kidding.
No, that's enough. That's enough.
But I think it was good. I liked it. It helped me. But my expectations were pretty high, and it didn't get everything I wanted.
So it sounds like we actually had very similar experiences, number one. Number two, surprise everyone, Kevin cut his hair off.
Oh yeah, look at that.
That's it. So if this video has convinced you that you should be taking creatine, I want to lay out exactly who I think this is right for. I'm going to sit here right now and I'm going to say, even with my experience taking it, I stand by my previous recommendations, which is I only think you should be taking creatine if you have a consistent strength training routine. People get really mad when I say that. People have said it's like coming off as like holier than thou or superior or even like ableist. And really, I just want you to understand where it's coming from. Creatine is not like a life-changing supplement. It is going to take you from here to here. But to get from here to here, you actually need to be putting in the work. So if you are not consistently strength training, I don't care how many days a week it is, but if you're not hitting your number of days that you're trying to hit per week, let's say 95% of the time, we'll say it's the same percentage that I'm expecting in terms of how many days you actually stick to your creatine supplementation. But if you're not hitting that consistently, to be honest, you're wasting your money. Based off of my personal experience, Kevin's personal experience, and then the literature that we currently have on the cognitive benefits of creatine, I cannot sit here in this economy and tell people, yeah, it might have some cognitive benefits, so why don't you invest in this supplement and focus on taking it every day? I think the thing that's going to get you the most bang for your buck on cognitive benefits is like getting better sleep. And that's a whole different topic, and that's a really, really hard thing to do. So don't get it twisted that I'm saying like that's really easy, but I think that focusing on some of these bigger pillars like sleep or stress, that's going to have a much better impact on your cognitive health than taking a supplement that isn't going to hurt it by any means, but you're probably just going to be wasting your money. As always, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on future videos, and I will see you all in the next one.